Hey YouTube, this is Yobi checking in. So today, I know it's been a while, so I decided to catch up with you guys and say what's up. It's a really nice, bright day out in Sapporo right now. I'm just in front of the Sapporo clock tower. If you can see that, it's pretty bright. But anyway, I thought today I would talk to you guys a little bit more about my job. I got some couple questions about that. First of all, sorry if I'm squinting. It's pretty bright, and I know you guys say I squint a lot in all my videos, and I have bad eyes, guys. Sorry. I usually squint unless I'm wearing my contacts. Even with glasses, I tend to squint sometimes, but sorry about that. So anyway, I decided today I'll talk to you guys a little bit about my experience so far being working with translation and interpretation in Japan. So before coming to Japan, I didn't really think much about the difference between a translator and an interpreter. I just figured it's both really the same kind of overall general work. You know, we call somebody a translator in like North America. We kind of assume it's somebody that interprets and does um, uh, like actual written translation. But from my work so far, what I've got to experience is that big difference, and which one I'm kind of more inclined to. So both of them have their own, benefits, and both of them have their own things that make them a little bit difficult. For example, when it comes to translating like a document, you have to be accurate. You have to be pretty much perfect because it's something that's cemented down. It's written word. So that adds its own level of pressure. But from what I've seen so far, um, the main difference with being a translator, written translator, you have time to check, you have time to research things. There's a lot of great tools. So I use my dictionary on my phone a lot. Really high level translators don't really use their dictionary as much, but again, this is the first time I've ever really done anything like this. So I use that. I use a website called, I believe it's ALC Translation. If you Google that, you should find it, or it's ACL Translation. I'm pretty sure it's ALC Translation. And so if you stick in a word or two in there, it'll actually give you examples, like really good example sentences, based on, I think, what other translators have done before, like examples that are really, really accurate. So I usually use those two in combination with Google Translate at the same time. And it helps if I have the document sent to me, like a digital copy, like a file, instead of having like a written paper, because, if you get stuck with some kanji and you have to spend all that time searching for each kanji individually, whereas I can just copy and link and search the kanji real quickly on Google Translate or something like that, it makes it flow a lot faster. So I found out that's kind of the grunt of the thing. Also, people don't really, when they give you a project, they don't really take into account how much time it'll take somebody to translate it. So for example, if I kind of like to think, like, if it took somebody 10 minutes to write it, it might take me 20 minutes or so to translate it. It's going to take me more time to translate it than for you to write it. So, sometimes deadlines are a little bit tight, but, it hasn't been so bad so far. So usually what I'll do is I'll just read through the document and get a general understanding of what I'm trying to translate as best as I can. Then I'll make sure I, write down the meanings of any of the words that I don't know, and then I'll go by line, and I'll try to make each line perfect before I move on. Or I'll just do like a general rough translation of just the general meaning, and then I'll go into each line specifically after and try to make it more accurate. So, I've been translating things like PowerPoint presentations. I've been translating things like reports for the Curling Academy, for the Japan Sports Council, things like that. And so, don't be afraid to suck at your job, basically. My first couple times, I really, really sucked at it. It really didn't sound natural. I was too shy to get people to check it. Don't be shy, you have to ask for help when you need it, right? So, even like the professional translators that work in the Hokkaido government office, they even let me know that they always like to get a native person to kind of go over whatever it is that they translated and just double check that. So I've been doing that recently, and that's actually become a really good way to study, is to translate a document and then get somebody to give it a native check. Another really cool website that a friend of mine introduced me to was Lang8, so it's Lang-8, and it's a website where you can post sentences or paragraphs or something like a journal, and native people will come and correct your sentences, and in return you can go and correct sentences in your native language, and you get points and things like that. But generally it's good because these people, I would post something on Lang8 and then somebody would come by and correct it 30 minutes later. So I found that's a really awesome tool to use. So those are kind of the tools that I've been using for translation. In terms of interpreting, what I found is interpreting is really, really not difficult, but it's a whole other challenge. Not only are you dealing with having to understand the language and translate on the spot, which means you have no time really, you have to do it live. So you have to be able to understand everything that they're saying, be able to say everything that they're saying. So it's one thing to understand something in Japanese and then being able to, well, it's one thing to be able to understand something in English and then being able to say it in Japanese. And it's a whole other level if it's like a specific, they call it like Senmon Yogo, which is like words that are really specific to that field. So they have people that work in court translation, things like that. They have to know a lot of legal terms. There's people that work in like they deal with economic meetings and things like that, so they really focus on economics. My main world of my main sphere of this work is doing sports and talking about technique and strategy and curling. So trying to explain a sport that you didn't really play before, it proved to be pretty difficult. I had to spend a good month or two with the teams just learning the English meanings of stuff and learning how to understand the strategy, because I found if you really don't understand, for me personally, I found if you don't understand the concept of what it is that you're trying to interpret, it's really difficult to explain it, and you're not going to be completely accurate if you don't really understand what it is the person's saying to you. So I had to learn the curling rules, I had to learn the terms, and then I had to learn things that are the way that the curlers themselves in Japanese say it, because not everything translates, so they use a lot of English too. So that was its whole, it's still a learning process, but really this job has been awesome for that. It's given me an opportunity to just dive into all these things and just try it, which has been fun, challenging but fun. It's probably the most challenging job I've ever had. Each day of work kicks my ass, but each day I feel a little bit stronger. Each new project or each new time I'm interpreting or something, I feel a little bit stronger. So I'm thankful that the people are giving me the opportunity, because I know a lot of the times I'm making a lot of mistakes, which is the other part of interpreting, which is difficult, is the nervousness that you can feel because of being on the spot in front of everybody. So I've done a couple of seminars where I've done some live interpreting, and well, not really live interpreting, it's like sentence by sentence. Live interpreting is kind of more specific thing that it's really word by word at the exact same time, but this is pretty live interpreting. This is pretty much sentence by sentence or couple sentences by couple sentences with really no preparation. So it was pretty stressful, and it gets nerve-wracking, especially when you're speaking to, for example, a Japanese crowd, and Japanese isn't your native language, and you're just like, oh, I don't know if that sounds native, I don't know if that sounds right, am I making sense, do I sound stupid? So that nervousness it's a whole other wall that you guys are gonna have to worry about getting over. I'm still trying to get over it too. I still get nervous. I just did a presentation like 2 days ago, and after the presentation I'm just like, oh my god, how much of that was actually like accurate, or if somebody asks for something to be repeated, I'm like, oh my god, I made a mistake or something. But you got to take it in stride, you got to learn, and you got to be I don't know where I read that quote, but it said you have to be willing to suck at something before you get good. So I put myself out there and I try my best. That's all I can really do. So I've definitely been cranking up the studying. I found that there's specific techniques and stuff that come with the role. So it's one thing to just be like a native speaker who then gets really, really proficient with another language, and then it's a whole other thing to be an interpreter and a translator. You do need kind of specific techniques and skill sets. You need a good memory, you need a good live memory, you need speech skills, you need to be able to be in front of people and make presentations. So those are things to consider when you guys are looking. Sorry about that, my video cut out. Anyway, So those are things to consider if you guys are looking into becoming a translator or interpreter. I'm still very new at it, so I'm still finding out things every day and just trying my best. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. But as always, the best way for me to answer your questions, either ask me a question on my Facebook page, I'll put the link down below, and or if you guys want, hit me up on Twitter. I answer almost every single Twitter question that I get because it's way easier to manage. So you guys, all the links are down there below, and I'll see you guys again soon. So anyway, じゃあね。